Satan is coming on the devil's wedding night. Diabolic demons delirious with desire. Dark desire lures the village virgins to the castle of carnal craving.
I am sure that you guys are all shocked to know that for today's movie on the Cadaver Lab, I've chosen one that involves Gothic horror, occult rituals, supernatural reincarnations, and lots of nude Italian women. Yes, The Devil's Wedding Night is all that and more. So hop on your horse-drawn carriage and make your way to Castle Dracula and try to avoid the temptation that the Contessa will be laying on you, and let's get into it. I mean, let's get into it right after you've given this video a like and you've subscribed to the channel. All right. All right, so if you've watched any videos on this channel or listened to the Corpse Cast podcast, you know that I am the biggest fan of Euro sleaze on this planet. I've talked about the films of Jess Franco, Sergio Martino, Dario Argento, and Paul Naschy, just to name a couple. The Devil's Wedding Night has a lot in common with the films by those directors, and this fits right in with them. The Devil's Wedding Night is a very stylistic Gothic horror whose plot involves a lot of erotic occult rituals. It's almost like they made this movie specifically with me in mind, and I can appreciate that. This movie was directed by Luigi Batzella, aka Paolo Solvay. He has directed a couple other of my favorites, namely Nude for Satan from 1974 and, oh my gosh, probably one of the most exploitative, offensive, and hilarious movies of all time, with The Beast in Heat from 1977. Now, that movie is insane, okay? Basically, let me get into it just for a minute. I'll take a little aside. But so basically, that is a exploitation film where the fascists are working on a new project. They're injecting a dude with chemicals to turn him into a hyper-aggressive caveman-like guy. They have him in a cage, and the experiment involves putting women in a cage with him to see how he responds. My brothers and sisters, I promise you that if you have not seen it before and you're picturing what happens in that movie, you aren't imagining it wild enough. Trust me. Luigi Batzella directed that film with the pseudonym Ivan Kathansky, a name that he seemed to use later in his career when he started directing exploitation films dealing with like war. Anyway, this is not about him or those war movies, but so I'll save that discussion for another day. But if you have not seen The Beast in Heat, my goodness, please do. Or don't. Or do, but don't say that I recommend it. And don't tell anybody. Okay, you just watch it before you do anything. Okay. Anyway, a name that should be very familiar to all of us who love this Euro sleaze and exploitation stuff, Joe D'Amato. He was the director of photography and even helped out with some of the direction on the film. Now, this dude is one of the sleaziest guys in the business. However, that doesn't mean that he didn't know what he was doing. I mean, so I picked up the Severin Danza Macabre Volume 4 box set that has this movie, The Devil's Wedding Night, included. There were interviews, by the way, just real quick, there's interviews from Rosalba Neri on that, who, by the way, seems like such a nice old lady now, like older lady. And there was also an interview with Franco Gaudenzi from the disc. He was the producer of the film, but both of them made it a point to talk about what a pleasure it was to work with D'Amato and how he really knew what he was doing. Now, having said that, listen to some of D'Amato's work. First of all, he directed Anthropophagus, Absurd, both starring George Eastman. He also directed a ton of the Black Emanuel films, and I'm not going to list those because just look at there's also a Severin box set that's all about the Black Emanuel that I do have. I haven't watched many on those, but I have watched enough to know that D'Amato is he's got a way about him. How about I just leave it at that? But okay, some of my other ones that he's directed that I do like is Papaya, Love Goddess of the Cannibals, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, Orgasmo Nero, Convent of Sinners, and how could we ever forget Porno Holocaust? So yeah, kind of a wild filmography. And now if you're searching for Porno Holocaust, I'm going to warn you right now. No, I'm not going to say it on my video. Just okay, don't watch it. Watch it, but okay, but I don't want to. Okay, cool. Anyways, there's just something wrong with the guy's, let's just say, unit on that. So, and I'll leave it at that, and you guys can have some fun. And there's really close-up shots, and there's horrific. Anyways, this movie stars Mark Damon in dual roles, playing twin brothers Carl and Franz. The absolute gorgeous Rosalba Neri is La Countess Dollingen de Vries. I think that I've only really seen her in 2 movies, this one and, Lady Frankenstein. But she is part of the Italian 3. The Italian 3 are the most 3 beautiful women who've ever walked the planet and is graced with Italian and European movies. She's the first, Edwidge Fenech is the second, and Monica Bellucci is the third. Even though Monica might be best known for her French films, I mean, she was born in Italy. She married, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a French filmmaker, and she started her career that way, and she's been in a ton of French movies, but she is Italian, so that's good. But I'll tell you what, we were lucky that in 1969, both Rosalba Neri and Edwidge Fenech starred in a movie called Top Sensation, a movie that was decent, but it starred 2 of the Italian 3, and, back to, I love that movie just for that reason, but also Devil's Wedding Night starred Esmeralda Barros as Laura. So Carl is some kind of a historian, and he's been studying an ancient artifact called the Ring of the Nibelungen, a ring that supposedly grants the wearer immortality and unlimited power. Something that we all have a great confidence that a human is good to wield. We're good with that, right? We've all seen Lord of the Rings. Well, good guy Carl intends to retrieve this ring and donate it to the local museum named the Karnstein Museum. Karnstein, get it? However, his twin brother Franz, who lives a much more lurid lifestyle, doesn't quite believe him. But he does ask Carl why he would just give that ring and give it to the museum as opposed to wielding the ultimate power. So you can kind of just get an idea of kind of their different motivations, the kind of people that those two are and how they differ, stuff like that. But anyway, Carl decides to go find and retrieve the ring in Eastern Europe from a castle in the Carpathian Mountains. Nice. On his way there, just like in so very many vampire films, everyone at the inn pleads with him not to go to the castle, because he's apparently right in time for the Virgin Moon. The Virgin Moon is a time where the vampires in the castle lure 5 beautiful virgins to their home, put them through an occult ritual, getting their blood ready for the Contessa to bathe in, obviously to keep her young. However, Carl is a big, strong man and has an amulet that will protect him from all evil. A handy trinket to have, if only he didn't forget it at the inn after spending what I imagine was a wonderful evening with the innkeeper's daughter. Oh, that's funny. Carl goes to what has to be Dracula's castle and is greeted by the beautiful housekeeper and eventually the Countess herself. They hit it off quite nicely, and Carl falls immediately under her spell. And he is putty in her hands, brother. I understand that. Meanwhile, Franz, his brother, has been checking up on Carl's research back at the house. He decides that he wants a piece of that ring too, so he heads to the castle himself. Remember, Franz is basically Carl. If Carl made terrible decisions on purpose, total degenerate energy. But this is where things start getting messy, man, because now you've got identical twins running around a vampire castle, and the movie just kind of dares you to keep up with what's going on. So the Countess, who is basically a version of Dracula but way more seductive and way less subtle, is after this ring because it's the key to keeping her whole immortality thing going. So how does she go about it? Oh, seduction, mind games, random rituals, just generally messing with everyone's head. And there are a few scenes where this movie goes on a total dreamy trip on us, man. And I really don't know what's going on exactly, but it doesn't matter because shortly after this, we get the Countess's bloodbath scene, probably the most recognizable scene from this movie. And it's funny, you've probably seen this image as well. There are a ton of posters with stills from this scene. In fact, a band that I kind of like named the Bloody Hammers has a still from that scene as their album, one of their album covers. I think it's for the album The Summoning. I have it. I'll show you a picture of it. Anyway, things start getting wild. People are running around trying to figure out what's going on. Carl apparently is supposed to be the vessel for Dracula to come back ahead of his wedding to the Countess. We have topless virgins walking around. We have some sweet nudie scenes. We have some bald vampires show up for some reason. And finally, I have no idea who this was, but we have some weird guy who shows up in the frame from time to time to laugh at the pitiful humans. Oh dear. Oh, okay, so now we're all caught up. Eventually, it all comes down to a final showdown over the ring. Betrayals, supernatural nonsense. Amazingness, my bad. This is one of my very favorite final battles of all time. because there's this part where Rosalba and Mark were purposefully moving in slow motion for a little more drama, and I don't know if it was supposed to look like that. I don't know what was going on, because it's obviously not in slow motion, because there's a flame in one that's going normal speed, but they're just like, no, but oh my gosh, it's so great. Okay. This will not come as any kind of shocker to anyone, I'm sure, but I love this movie. It's a little sleazy, fun, and it's just kind of nuts, man. The first time I saw this was quite a while ago. It was on one of those public domain DVD collections. Yeah, I mean, that's right. This was in the public domain. In fact, you can go to archive.org right now to watch and download this movie. The version I originally saw was really bad. It was such a poor quality that it was barely even worth watching. There were green scratches all over it, and couldn't really see what's going on too well, especially in the night scenes, or the day for night scenes, but back then they were actually dark. So but to be honest with you, the copy on archive.org looks pretty decent, you know. I mean, it's not as good as a copy that Severin released as part of the Danza Macabre box set, but it's decent. The Blu-ray has a bunch of great extras on it. I mentioned the interviews with Rosalba Neri and the producer Franco Gaundenzi. Probably butchered that, but it even has kind of an older 4-minute interview with Joe D'Amato, and I think he passed away in 1999, if I'm wrong. If I'm not, I'll put the correction up on the screen. But anyways, it also has some trailers on it, and it has a commentary on it. So I love the look of this movie. I love the costumes, the design for the occult rituals, the ruins, the tombs. However, the castle was especially gorgeous, and this was actually filmed at Castello Piccolomini in Bassarano, Italy. Man, that location gave such an amazing vibe. It worked perfectly for the exteriors. This whole thing, the whole look and feel of it kind of reminds me of a Hammer horror film. It has the lush sets, the beautiful women, the Gothic vibes. It is, however, sleazier than all but maybe one or two of the Hammer films, and I'm okay with that. So this also has some of the silly tropes from the films from this time, some sketchy special effects, especially when the Countess is supposed to turn into a human-sized bat. Oh my gosh, I'll show it to you, but we'll forgive them because it's all still amazing. And as always, there's some day for night shots, like I said. But yeah, again, and I say this every episode, I swear, but I think they did that and thought they'd get away with it because they probably didn't think that anyone would be watching this in dazzling 4K. But the day for night always cracks me up, man. Now, there is some controversy about how much of the film Joe D'Amato versus Luigi Batzella actually directed. It was brought up in some of the extras on the Blu-ray, but there was no real consensus. Nobody gave a definite answer, so I guess that'll remain a mystery. But it's kind of a fun thing because you know how much I love all this fun Italian, and this was before maybe like the Argento era and stuff like that. But they're still all very, very incestuous, this Italian horror scene. Anyway. As an entry in the 70s trend of erotic vampire films of the 70s, this fits right in. And in my opinion, it's one of the best, man. What a fertile time for these kinds of movies, man. You got the vampire lovers, Daughters of Darkness, The Blood-Spattered Bride, plus all the entries into this genre by Jean Rollin and Jess Franco. And man, this might be the sexiest decade for vampires in history. I love most of these movies, even though some of them are kind of slow, maybe some kind of art too artsy, maybe from Jean Rollin and Jess Franco especially. But I like them. And I mean, obviously from the amount of Eurosleaze that I do on my shows. Anyhow, that's all I got for this video. Thanks a ton for watching, man. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, recommend it to your friends. Go visit corpsecollective.com, and I'll catch you with the next one.